Sancho to score. No mistakes this time.
That is a rocket.
Royce and another fantastic goal by Marco Royce. Haaland's volley is beautiful beyond compare.
Jetzt kommt das Wunder von Dortmund. Foulspiel von Inzo an Götze.
Needs to lay it off. We're going to shot away. Oh, what a goal!
Welcome back to Dortmund Dispatch. Do I sound worse, Joey?
You actually sound
a little bit better now than you did a second ago.
Okay, that's good. But I am on a different setup because my family has taken over my podcast studio for free, not being paid, and they're sleeping in there. Hello. I need some money, guys. Pick it up. But how's your weekend going, Joey?
It's been a kind of tiring week. Played 2 rounds of disc golf and absolutely horrible. Found myself in what I call a blizzard of pollen, and my sinuses haven't been the same since. But otherwise, on top of everything, Dortmund lost. So yeah, it was like a lose-lose situation.
I actually had one good thing for me this weekend. So I went thrifting and I managed to sell $180 worth of my clothes because I was in the thrift store and I was texting my friend who resells clothes, and I was like, I'll give you this for, and I'd mark it up like $1, $3. And then he came over and I had him look through some old stuff. I made $180.
Nice.
I'm very happy with that. Some of the stuff I was selling him, I didn't even pay for.
Even better.
And some of the stuff I bought for myself, it didn't fit, and we don't need to talk about how much money I lost on the deal.
Well, you didn't lose, so I guess I could say somebody else who lost this weekend.
Oh yeah, there's some players that
was Dortmund.
I was gonna say there's some players that are going to be negatively impacted financially because of these performances, and one is a bit unfortunate. So let's start there actually, because this is not necessarily down to his performance, but an injury again for Niklas Süle. This could be cutting into his next paycheck. We are trying to focus more on, just for context for everyone, we're trying to focus our episodes more on implications for next season. And this isn't necessarily an implication for Borussia Dortmund next season, but how worried are you for Niklas Süle? Like, where does he go from here?
I think Süle's in kind of a tough position, and I think I was reading this morning that thankfully it seems like it was a knee injury, and it wasn't quite as severe as they anticipated. But if he's out more than a month, then we just saw his final appearance, and it's really unfortunate. Whether you think Süle's a great player or not. The fact that he goes down like that and concedes the handball while he's falling, it's just unfortunate, and it feels very Dortmund. So I do feel bad for the guy in the fact that there's a decent chance that was his final competitive appearance in black and yellow. And where does he go from here? Hard to say. I think he has enough experience between his time at Dortmund and his time at Bayern that he won't have too much trouble finding a contract somewhere. I think the bigger question is whether any like a Champions League side is going to be interested in a player at his age and with how frequently he has been injured in the recent couple of years. But I do think he'll find somewhere to go.
Yeah, especially if the Bundesliga somehow sneaks into that 5th Champions League place.
Mm-hmm.
The team we played actually would be kind of an ideal fit. He's played there before, and when you're talking about like, I more mean like this injury hurts him in terms of the dollars of his next deal. Like, this is a player who has immense quality when he plays, compared to the average. Not necessarily, like, I know some Borussia Dortmund fans are like, he's not good enough, whatever, and I don't fully disagree on that based off this past season. Because this season's been mostly poor, but the quality he has over a regular average Bundesliga defender is so immense that, like, Hoffenheim are happy if he just, like, plays, because, like, when he's fit, he's going to raise the level of the team by so much that if he only plays 20 games, that makes a big, like, they're fine with that, because that's 20 games he's raised the ceiling, whereas Borussia Dortmund are looking for a little more, like, stability and consistency from a player that's ceiling isn't so far above their like main players. So I think that's actually a good fit for him, and I hope that he's able to find something that makes him happy next season. But yeah, there could be some financial implications there, just missing another 3-4 games, because that's 10% of the season, and that'll a club will say, look, you missed. But we have to talk about some of the things that did happen. We saw Fabio Silva and Maxi Bayer together, and it didn't really work out from an attacking sense. Borussia Dortmund quite poor in that respect and all respects. But let's talk about that real quickly. What do you think the issue was in attack between Fabio Silva and Maxi Bayer, or was it service? Like, what was going on there?
So I thought that we had a pretty poor performance from both Marcel Sabitzer and Carney Chukwuemeka. And I do think that that is part of it, because those are the two players who should be providing a lot of service up to either player. Likewise, these are both creative players who have gotten quite a few assists on the book. So I'm not quite sure exactly where where this attack went all wrong, other than um, the attacking third, the players on the pitch had no synergy, it seemed like, and we had a lot of poor long balls from different players. There were a couple that Maxi got on the end of, but couldn't quite make it. And there were one or two opportunities where I felt like a really strong attack was building, and um, Carney Chukwuemeka, you see both Bayer and Silva running up on either side, and Chukwuemeka makes the pass to the wrong player. You have Silva wide open, and the pass goes to Bayer, who's got two players marking him, or vice versa. And I think a little bit of the link-up play was lacking, because I do think both Silva and Bayer have a bit more potential than perhaps we saw in the front two. And I don't know. We've talked about this on the podcast in the past and in the chat too, but I do find that, like, once Serhu Guirassy comes on the pitch, Bayer kind of goes absent. He sort of disappears from play. And then with, different issue with Fabio Silva is we tend to see a lot of really explosive play when he comes off the bench, but we haven't seen him be able to really replicate that kind of form when he starts. He's been a very mid player when he starts. So what does that mean for next season? I'm not quite sure.
I think I'd like to jump in and talk a little bit more about Fabio Silva there, because you're making a great point, Joey. The issue with Fabio Silva in a front two is that he doesn't shoot. When we play the front three and he's not shooting, you have two players on the pitch who, in theory, are going to be attacking a lot. They're going to be coming in field, and they can get shots. Now, when Fabio Silva is playing in a front two, there's only one player that can get shots. And I think Maxi Bayer can get a lot of shots, but Maxi Bayer also, can drift around and run in behind and do all these other things. And then when you're, crossing and doing these other things, maybe Maxi Bayer is a little bit less effective. I think Maxi Bayer was very close in a lot of instances. And I think that's more my issue with him. But the issue with Fabio Silva remains, can he get shots? And we're having a growing sample size. It's still small, but the answer is no. He's not getting shots. And I was starting to focus more on his movement in this match, and his movement in the penalty area, it's very questionable to me. I don't know if you noticed it too. Maybe it's a bit it could be one match that I'm paying more attention. It could be a cognitive bias where I know the player doesn't get a lot of shots. I'm seeing his movement and it's bad, but he's not doing the little in and outs, let me fake a run towards the box, towards the line, and then come back half a yard to try and get to a cross. He's not making that run diagonally. These are the things I'm not necessarily seeing. He's a lot better at football than me, but I don't know. It's like there's something missing in the penalty area that like Sergio Rossi has that like your top level nines have, and like Maxi's is a little pretty much just like let me run in behind. But Fabio Silva needs to figure out a way to get shots at the highest level, and not just like stay on his defender and hope to win a physical battle.
I agree with you. I mean, even those like the fancy footwork that we tend to see in the box from strikers to get around or fake out the defender and make the shot. I almost feel like Silva, he plays a little bit more like a winger, where he doesn't necessarily run into great positions to make a shot, but rather like let's see if we can whip something across the face of goal and find a
Yeah, like
teammate.
when the ball gets to him,
Yeah.
I have no like he's fine. He's a very good striker when the ball finds him, but like he's not finding the space to find the ball and to like make
Mhm.
sure the ball finds him enough. I think that's the simplest way to put it.
I think that's a good point.
And separately, to go back to your Maxi Bayer point, like where does he go when Sergio Guirassi's on the pitch? It's Sergio Guirassi goes into that central area, and Maxi Bayer just finds it hard to, I think, be a winger. I think he showed it 4 years ago when he was in the second tier, but we're playing against a Champions League level opponent, and Maxi Bayer has consistently shown that against a Champions League level opponent, he's just not as good out wide. He does striker things, and when he's not doing striker things, he's worse. And when Sergio Guirassi's on the pitch, he's being asked not to do striker things. And
I mean, I would even rather see Maxi Bayer play as a 10 and more of like a false 9 kind of position where he could run in behind a player like Guirassy. I mean, even if it was like Bayer instead of Sabitzer, one less player to shuffle the ball around in the back. But when he's pushed wide on the wing, he's just ineffective, and you can also see it with the other players who are out there in the attack with their hesitancy to pass it to him in that corner. So I think that's something that Kovač is going to have to figure out next season and figure out how we can get the best out of this player, because we can see his talents, but when a player like Bayer is used out of his preferred position or in the wrong position, he's just not good enough.
yeah,
And I don't really fault him for that.
yeah, I think it'll probably start with the departure of Guirassy because of the ages, regardless of skill, decline, anything, just because of the age, he's the one you kind of have to move on from. And then you have Fabio Silva, you have Maxi Bayer, potentially Karim Adeyemi, and then at least one new signing. And I think that new signing is going to look to be someone who's a bit versatile, can play wing, can play off a striker, because you have, I think, Fabio Silva kind of being that like fourth man, where he's essentially like late in games. We've seen him be very, very good late in games just because he is so active, pressing and stuff. But it's going to be up to the other three guys, Kareem, Maxi, and whoever, to be those kind of like shot monsters, these starting players. And like Fabio Silva, like as much as we complain about it from the start of games, like I think that against weak, like bottom five Bundesliga level opponents, Fabio Silva can come in and get some more of these shots and dominate physical duels in a way he can't against these better teams. And I think that's your kind of front two, because it's clear that at this point, Niko Kovač is planning on that front two next season. And while Fabio Silva struggles to play with a Maxi Bayer and potentially a Karim Adeyemi, I think that maybe with a new striker, a new creative attacker, like we start to see a little bit more versatility in there, and he's able to fit in better. And
but Guirassy just scored a goal against a team in the top half of the league.
It's the first one though. Like we're now at 1 goal, 1 assist in 14 appearances. Or
Yeah,
sorry,
it's
13. I
not
think we
great.
have one match left against Freiburg that's in the top half. Or we have Freiburg and Frankfurt left.
Frankfurt,
Which-
yeah. So he's got 2 more.
So
But if he is heading toward the exit, though, I can't imagine he's going to be playing a ton in those games.
yeah, he's had 2 goals and assists in 12 matches then against top half opponents, Joey. That's
That's
a
poor.
Borussia Dortmund
That is
striker.
poor.
Yeah, it's oh my God. We'll talk about that later. Yeah, a great strike, but like where's the like how is this like when we're talking about projecting for next year, there is absolutely nothing you can point to that says Serhou Guirassy is going to like give you 20 goals next year. It's not there. It's not real. It like he could do it.
Maybe in the MLS.
No,
MLS.
I think
I didn't mean that.
he could do it, but like there's no real reason to predict something like that. Like he's on par with his XG, and he's missed penalties, so that likely means he's overperforming his like open play. And he was down last year below his expected. The year before he was above. That doesn't mean he's gonna keep his every other pattern, but what it does mean is you can't count on him overperforming his XG. His XG per 90 is way down from when it was at about 1 per 90 or 1 XG per 90 at Stuttgart because he's got 14.5 XG including penalties from over 2,000 Bundesliga minutes.
That's just not good enough for Dortmund's
and he's
quality striker.
Yeah, and he's not getting younger. He's 30 years old. He'll turn 31 next March. It's troubling, and I really hope the club can find a way to move on from him. We talk about this every week because I think, makes us irate every week.
A little bit.
So let's move on to something else that definitely made me irate this week.
Can we read this quote?
Oh yeah, I can't. If I read it, I'll start mocking it before I finish.
So we have a post-match quote from everybody's favorite Lars Ricken. Quote, "It wasn't a pleasant afternoon. For one thing, we worried about Nicky Zula. On top of that, we lost the match due to 2 penalties, and you'd have to stretch the imagination to say those were justified under the rules. The referee didn't even blow his whistle at first. Everyone in the stadium saw what happened. Someone who wasn't there might then say he has to go to the screen. But we have our own issues, and we agree. We don't need to point the finger at the referee. We could have shown more courage from the start. Hoffenheim were clearly the more dominant side at the start, even if they didn't have clear-cut chances." End quote. So we're not going to blame the referee, but we're going to blame the referee and then let you know that we're not going to blame the referee.
Joey, I thought
Nice,
Germans weren't supposed to have this sense of humor. Like that's hilarious. And also, like they're not penalties. Like, have we been watching the same sport over the last 10 years?
They're both unfortunate, and I mean, you can make the argument in Sula's case that if he hadn't been shielding his face while he was falling, that his face would have been blasted by the ball and no penalty then. But I mean, he is falling, yes, but his arm is still technically in an unnatural position, and the ball strikes it. You can see it on the referee's face when he walks out from the monitor and he's announcing the decision. That it's not a penalty that he wants to give. It's the rules, and he was sticking with it. And I mean, the second one with Rierson, I think that handball, what that one comes down to is, was it in the box or wasn't it in the box? And I think they showed us a couple angles that definitively show it was in the box, and I hate it. It sucks, but that is what happened. I'm not angry about the officiating decisions in this match.
Yeah, like it's one thing to say like we had 2 very unlucky handballs because that was the case. Like Nicolas Sula is absolutely not trying to consciously punch the ball away from the net. Julian Ryerson
completely unintentional.
is like jumping, his arms in an unnatural position.
He's got a head turn. He doesn't see the ball coming in.
Yeah, but
it still strikes the arm,
and that's a nailed
and it's
on
outstretched.
penalty. It's not a nailed on penalty
Yeah.
when Ricken plays, but like that's not a way to analyze a game in 2026 is with the rules as they were in 1990 or 1999. I don't know when he started playing. I don't want him to think I think he's like 80 years old. He's not. But like there's different handball rules, and you need to adapt and understand that these were both clear handballs. It's very unlucky. It's very unfortunate. Did Hoffenheim create anything from open play? Not really. They had about 0.41, 0.49. I forget what it was.
I think
From
Kobel
open play.
had 2 saves,
Yeah.
so he wasn't even called into action that much.
Yeah, aside from the penalties. But like, Joey, did Borussia Dortmund
Yeah.
create a lot of chances? Did we deserve to win this game?
No. I mean, we really didn't do much in the attack other than Girassi finding a goal out of seemingly nothing. Great pass from Bensebaini, by the way. But I mean, those are the kinds of goals that Girassi was scoring last year, which justified playing him when everything else that he does on the pitch is terrible. But he's not doing that much this season, so. Anyway, yeah. Back to your question though, did we deserve to win this? No, we didn't.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just why it's a silly quote. I'm not sure why he would go to the media and say something like this. Like, this is a guy who's been around the game for a long time. He should know better. And that's just a really silly quote. But let's move on into our next segment and give our stars of the week. And I'll begrudgingly say Grassi, good goal. It's a good strike.
It was.
There was nothing else really to talk about from this game in a positive light. Joey, I'll leave you to figure out something to say positively about someone else.
I will. Star was not an easy decision for this one. But I'm going to give it to Valdemar Anton. I thought he had an overall solid game. Of course, nothing he could have done to defend either penalty, but without those 2 handballs, our defense would have kept a clean sheet. So I'll give it to Anton.
Yeah, and the U19s drew Schalke's U19s, which is truly atrocious. Like, guys, get it together. That's the must win. Especially because the narrative would have been really cool because we had a double from a former Schalke Academy player playing for our U19s, Ektabasi. Like, that could have been such a cool story. He could have been a star of the week, but he wasn't because we conceded 3 goals. Let's see. What is next? A dud of the week. This should be a lot easier. Who is going to get your dud of the week, Joey?
I have 2 picked out. I mentioned them both earlier, but I am going to give it to Carney Chukwuemeka. I just thought he had a couple decent runs into the box, poor passing, not imposing enough, and I've been waiting all season to fall in love with this player, and I haven't.
I differ slightly. I thought this was much better from him than last week. I don't think it was great, but like to me it was like it was fine. I don't know why the player rating is like so low. Cuz like there is not like Sabitzer has
I don't even know his player rating.
SofaScore gave him a 6.3 and gave Sabitzer a 6.7. And
Sabitzer is the other option I was thinking of.
That is the option I am going to. I did a little thing there, and like I guess you can say Sabitzer, like I don't know what you could say Sabitzer did that Carney Chukwuemeka didn't really do, because in this match Carney Chukwuemeka
50-50
attempted more passes than Sabitzer. The pass completion was about the same.
He touched the ball a little bit more than Sabitzer,
and like the both of the pass completion is poor for both of them. Like Carney Chukwuemeka, I think won or he had like .07 expected assists. He had a shot. Sabitzer no shots, a little bit less expected assists. But like neither of them did a ton. But like Carney Chukwuemeka was dribbling, he was carrying, he drew a couple fouls. Like there was some productivity there. And we have seen him struggle to dribble and carry the ball from the start of games. And this is his first full 90 as a professional. So to me, this is a stepping stone for a young player that's like becoming.
Did he finish a full 90?
He did.
You know what? Actually, maybe he almost deserves a star for that.
Yeah, his first full 90, and Joey's saying he was terrible. This is a stepping stone for a young player. Whereas Sabitzer is at the other side of his career, 10 years Carney's senior. And it's just continuously mediocre. I don't want to say anything else about it because it's so repetitive. Our next match is against Freiburg, as Serge Grassi looks to continue his scoring dominance against top half sides. If you only look at the last match, it is kind of dominant. Who is your player to watch this week?
I think part of that depends on what kind of knock Karim Adeyemi has, because I think it's kind of a question mark. Are we selling him? Are we not selling him? I'd like him to stick around, but if he is fit, I expect a substitute appearance. Otherwise, player I would watch from Dortmund is Julian Rierson. I do think he's always just a workhorse out there. He's got I don't want to say a good attitude. He's got a fighting attitude. And I wanted to give him. I was thinking of giving him my star for this week, but conceding the last penalty was kind of a downer, even if unintentional. But I don't know. Rierson has solidified himself in the squad the last couple of years, and I think he's better than some people give him credit for. He can. Every once in a while, he shows this like really strong dribbling ability, and we love beating Freiburg. So, watch Rierson this weekend.
I was kind of going to go in the same direction as you and say Karim Adeyemi. With Rierson, the one thing I want to add is this weekend we only took 3 corners. When we had that hot run, and granted it was against some weaker teams to come out of the winter break, we were taking a lot of corners, and Rierson was doing a very good job on them. And one thing we should look to do is win some more corners, because 3 is very low, and I think when you have such a good corner kick taker in Rierson, you should try and take advantage of that a little bit more. Scoreline prediction against Freiburg. This is a home match, I believe, so
I think so.
I will say we rebound and have a incompetent 2-0 win. Like, it's not a 2-0 win that, like you say, like, nailed on 2-0 win, never had a doubt. This is going to be a 2-0 with some doubts, some shaky moments, solid defensively. You're like, how did we score 2 goals at the end? But that's my prediction. Assuming Adeyemi's fit.
Yes, also assuming Adeyemi's fit. My prediction is going to be a 3-0, keeping the clean sheet at home. They're going to give the fans a false sense of security after creating a few brilliant goals, because we're a trap team for Freiburg. They struggle with us frequently, and I think we're going to create a couple really nice team goals, or I don't know. I just think it's going to be a dominant performance, and I might eat those words this weekend. But and then we're going to think Dortmund's great, and then Frankfurt's going to come along in a week, and
Frankfurt's all over the place. Frankfurt, dude.
You never know what to expect with Frankfurt.
You never know what to expect with Dortmund, so
that's why I love
them. Moving on to our first story. It is unlikely that Cole Campbell will return to Dortmund. It is also unlikely that Hoffenheim will exercise their option to buy the player. Though this has not yet been ruled out entirely, the winger is likely to be facing a fresh start at a new club. that is per Funky Sport. And I think this is kind of expected. He's only played 45 minutes. He's not lit the world on fire. He's a prospect. I think he gets sold to a promotion hopeful in the 2 Bundesliga. Is my expectation.
That's kind of what I think too. He's got to go somewhere where he can continue his develop and going on loan somewhere to hopefully get a few minutes. I don't think is the answer. I think a Bundesliga hopeful or a promotion hopeful club is right on the nose.
Yeah, or maybe like a St. Pauli if they stay up or something like that. But I'd be worried for him if he did.
Yeah. Even maybe a championship side if he has dreams of going to England or something like that. But I'm not sure.
I don't know if I rate his physicality for that. That's a very physical league.
I haven't seen him play enough to judge that, I think.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of highlights, but I also have seen him in person. Warm up. He didn't really play a lot. So our next
well, he's young.
Yeah, he is young. Our next story is per Sky and Florian Plettenberg. Dortmund are interested in Konstantinos Mavropanos, but deal could be difficult. It would be expensive. Which is Konstantin?
I think he's a
Is that the
West
Wolfsburg?
Ham right now, if I'm not mistaken. And I know he's played for Stuttgart. I don't know how highly I rate Mavropanos. I mean, I know he's a decent defender, but I think I was reading up on him earlier. He's like 28 or 29.
He's 28. This is the former Arsenal one? I thought this was a different Greek person.
I'm not sold on him. He only made a couple appearances for Arsenal though.
Yeah.
7 appearances.
Yeah, a couple loan spells.
Looks like few seasons at Stuttgart. Regular starter at Stuttgart.
This makes no sense.
Seems like he's
this absolutely none. 0.
I don't know why we would go for.
Why would you?
Plus, coming from the Premier League, it's going to be too expensive anyway.
Why would you sign a 28-year-old center back when the current center backs that are contracted to the club are 18, 28, 26, and 30? Is that correct? Because Schlotterbeck's 26, right?
Schlotterbeck's 26.
Yeah. We have
Yeah, I
don't think it makes any sense. Several guys that are aging out. Makes no sense. No sense.
I mean, yeah. Because what we want is another central defender to essentially learn a little bit from Schlotterbeck and hopefully be another reliable center back if Schlotterbeck leaves. I don't think bringing in somebody who's older than Schlotterbeck is the right move there. Nah.
Yeah. I'm
against this one.
You want a guy that's like in the age profile of Aaron Anselmino. Not necessarily Aaron Anselmino, depending on how much you believe in Reggiani on the right side. On the right side. Like, you want that age, but at a guy who can pass a little bit more and play centrally in the middle of that back three. But our next story is from Bild, so take it with a grain of salt, but Dortmund could look to offload Jan Koto in the summer, as he's still well regarded in La Liga. They are highly unlikely to get the value they spent on signing him, though. Yeah, that's because he's been.
I don't think that's a
bad.
Difficult storyline to believe, even if it is Bild. Jan Kuto's kind of been pushed into the reserves the last month or two, and we're getting a couple substitute appearances, but this is the second year on his contract, and he hasn't really made the kind of impact that I think anybody has been hoping for. So for both, I think finding a new club is probably the best move for both player and club. Jan Kuto, I don't think is going to make the Brazilian national team for the World Cup. So he's got to go somewhere that he can reinvigorate his career if he wants to.
Yeah.
Or if he wants to get back into the national team.
The only issue is like we technically spent the first year he was on loan.
30, 28.
It was 20 plus 4.5 on the loan year. So 4.5 on the loan year, not bad. The 20 is when it starts to essentially get bad because how much does Dortmund have remaining on the books? So this is his second year here. It's his first full year under contract. So he's owed, I believe, 4.5 million per year, is 13.5 million euros total.
And he's still got a few more years, I think, right?
Yeah, he's got 3 years left on his contract. Not good, not good, because the amount you make, he's not gonna make the same when he moves, which means you're gonna have to pay him off, or he's gonna have to be in favor of moving. You could get some luck there because he said he's had a better adaptation period. So for Koto, like the biggest thing is how much money's left on his contract. You owe him 3 years, which is 13.5 million, and his transfer fee was 20. That's probably being paid in installments. I don't know how much is left in the installments. And so you'd essentially hope that he either wants to leave because he doesn't love Dortmund. The first year he did have a lot of issues, said that his fiance or whatever came the second year was a bit happier, but that could be a PR move after he had said that he wasn't really enjoying it. And so if he wants to move and he's willing to sacrifice some money, that would be good because then essentially you'd want to sell him for around what you have left on the 20 million. So let's say we paid 10 up front and we have like the next 10 in 3 installments. If you get like 10 to 12 million euros, you net a short profit there or a small profit. That's what I'd hope is possible. But like if they've only paid a third of that transfer fee and it's like 6.667 whatever million euros in 3 installments over the first 3 years of this deal, then that's a bit of a worry because then you need to start getting closer to 15 just to break even. And it's like, how willing is Hans-Joachim Watzke to sell a player that we would essentially still be paying the transfer fee for at a loss just on the money that's left? Not even just at a loss, but like we're essentially in debt. Like we're not making any money really off selling him. Like there's no additional spend because it's all going towards the debt we owe on his transfer. Like that's the normal way transfers work, is like you pay it in several installments, but like how bad is what's left is essentially what I would say, because Dortmund just need to beat that. And the issue of it being a loan is it feels like we're 2 years into this, but this could get dragged out because it was essentially a 5-year
It
deal.
feels like we're 2 years into a 5-year deal, but it's really 1 year into a 4-year deal because of the loan. That makes it tricky.
And the loan was so much cheaper than his actual deal. And now we're on the negative side of that one. The next story is Borussia Dortmund are one of the clubs that have been keeping an eye on 18-year-old winger Zdeněk Johanna from AIK for some time and are looking to sign him in the summer.
I was just doing a little bit of research into this player, and I kind of like the prospect. He's an 18-year-old winger, Nigerian, I think, and AIK is Stockholm, which is a highly regarded club in Scandinavia regions, or so
Sweden,
I've read.
I believe.
I think so. Yes, Stockholm's in Sweden. That makes sense. So it's late on a Monday, guys. But he's a winger. Seems like he's a pretty exciting prospect in my opinion. There's something else I was gonna say about him, and now I can't remember. But it makes sense if Kovač, if Dortmund is in the mood or in the mind of changing the system into a more winger heavy type of attack next season. So, if we're going to bolster the squad, why not get an 18-year-old with a high ceiling? We've had a bit of luck in the region in the past, so why not go for this kid? He probably won't be that expensive compared to an 18-year-old who could be coming from like Chelsea or Tottenham. Well, maybe not Tottenham. Um,
Yeah. So there has actually been a really strong market in recent years in terms of African players going to Scandinavian clubs and then very quickly getting moves to other clubs in France, bigger clubs in Scandinavia, or Hoffenheim. Like if you look at Bazumana Torre, I believe he was only at Hammarby for about 6 to 9 months before he went to Hoffenheim for less than 1 million. AIK is a much bigger club, however, so we're talking about, I would guess, single-digit million euros for
I
this
think
player,
so.
just based off that. He's also played a bit more senior football than Bazumana Torre had, but it's a great way, and it's like a lot easier to scout players there than it is in, let's say, Africa, where there just isn't a history or a long history yet of players from those leagues moving directly to bigger leagues in Europe. It's a lot of the smaller leagues, and because of that, you just essentially find it very hard to project because you can't say this level of talent equaled a average player in the Bundesliga, and this lower level of talent only was a super sub level player in the Bundesliga. Um, Now
All right.
that he's in a much more heavily scouted area, there's a lot more to say there. Um, and how exciting is he? I don't know, but he's supposed to be very fast, and he's playing senior football. If he can
I've got
dribble and he's fast at that age, then there's a lot of promise there.
and I've got a couple quick stats on him. We've mentioned a winger. He's a right-footed winger, and since joining Stockholm in July of 2025, and keep in mind that I might mess this up, the Allsvenskan, which is the Swedish league, I believe. Um, he has 4 goals in 14 appearances, but their season has just started. So far this season, he has 1 goal, 1 assist in 3 appearances, each of which he was a starter.
Yeah,
So
he's
not
currently
bad.
averaging 4.3 shots per 90 this season. Um, that's incredible. Like even like we're talking if that drops 50% going to the Bundesliga, which isn't entirely out of realm of respectability or possibility, like that's still respectable if that drops 50 if we sign him right now at 18 years of age, he turns 19 in June. If we sign him and next year he averages half as many shots as he is in the Bundesliga, that is a win. That's a win. If you have a 19-year-old averaging 2.15 shots per 90, that's a win. So like there's a lot of room for that to drop. Um the passing, like he's not entirely uninvolved in play. He's pressing a ton, which could be like him just being physically dominant against guys that aren't very good. The dribble volume is unbelievably high, and he's still winning a majority of his dribbles. Like 4.7 and 54% success rate. That's incredible. He is physically beyond the level he is playing at, which is what you would want to see for a player playing in a worse league. And when you have an 18-year-old physically dominating a worse league, that likely means he has the physical potential to dominate a very good league. Not necessarily saying he will, not saying he will right now, but he's physically dominating his league. That's a really, really good sign. He's projecting very, very well. He's also weirdly good in the air, but it's a very small sample size so far. We're talking about like 10 aerial duels across 390s. But yeah, he's physically dominating his league. We'll see how he projects, but like very young, very talented seeming. So
I like the prospect.
I love it. I think it's very, very intriguing across 3 games. But we'll see.
We shall.
We have one last story, Joey. Borussia Dortmund are reportedly willing to make concessions to Karim Adeyemi. This could mean that, much like in the Schlotterbeck case, where the club and player reached a win-win situation, an exit clause could help both parties reach an agreement. And I'm kind of for this. Like, I think we should have like a weirdly low release clause for Karim Adeyemi that goes active the day he turns 26. Karim Adeyemi is probably my favorite player to watch on Borussia Dortmund. Like, is he the best player? That's clearly Nico. However, Karim is my favorite player to watch. However, like
He is
some of
fun
the
to
injury
watch.
stuff, I'm a little worried about how he ages. He is so fast that like he could age well because him slowing down is still going to be faster than like 99% of players. However, I'm fine with him being sold in a few years. And he's a very good player, and I think we've clearly seen over the last 2 weeks that he makes the attack better. He makes everyone around him on the pitch better,
I
and
agree.
that's a very valuable trait.
I think I'm also okay with some kind of release clause for Adeyemi, and I would actually maybe suggest it be on the slightly higher end, just because I think, if this is a player who's locked down on a contract for another 3 years, if he goes through a 3 or 4 or 5 month stretch where he is just on fire, I think somebody would trigger that release clause, if it's a 50 million or 60 million, something like that, because there'll be enough interest, especially if he opened the season in like very strong, then he's going to he would potentially get poached in the winter. Of course, I'm wearing a Karim Adeyemi jersey right now. I do not want Adeyemi to leave. Like you, Eli, find him to be a really fun player to watch. And Dortmund has been lacking in the department of fun players to watch recently. So, yeah, let's get Adeyemi on a new contract and give him a release clause, make it win-win for both sides. He's, might not be captain material, but I do think Adeyemi can give us a lot in the next few years.
Yeah, you can always accept a lower offer, but sometimes just having that higher discourages the lower offer. I'd almost be open to being like 40, 45, like that range. Like
Yeah,
where you have a club saying like he's 26, he's going to be in decline, but he's only 42.5 million euros.
yeah,
And then they have a very good year of Karim Adeyemi, and they're like, look at this idiot. They sold him for 42.5 million euros. And then he goes Sarah Grassi year 2
Yep.
and has half as many goals. And that wouldn't surprise me. So that's more how I mean it. I don't mean it that like you give him away for free after a year or two. But
no, I
that's my one
get
thing
it.
with Karim Adeyemi. Also, if Karim Adeyemi was good forever, I would be so happy. I will be rooting for that man wherever he goes, no matter what. Actually, no matter Schalke Bayern. Caveat. Give me those two as the caveat. He can go anywhere else.
I'll throw Real Madrid into the mix and then agree with you.
Oh, I could do that. Well, yeah, like if he goes to Hansa Rostock too, like the morally bad clubs, or Leipzig.
Yeah, I'm not going to be too happy.
If we're like,
I don't think
the
that's going to
obvious,
happen.
aside from the obvious clubs that I would hate him going to, I would very much like to see him succeed. How about that, Joey? Is that better?
Perfect. Brilliant.
So I think that'll do it for us. We just quickly want to give it a shout out to our top 5 finishers this week in the Dortmund Dispatch Fantasy League. And Joey, don't even ask, because your boy is in 4th. The SA Germans is in 5th. Pines of Bayer, Joey's favorite team name, is in 4th. Sorry, I took your line. Do you want to say it?
No, I actually wasn't going to ask this time. I was wondering if you were going to bring it up, but you kind of had to because Pints of Bayer did so well this week.
Yeah, he earned it this time, Joey. We're not giving away free shout outs. FC Chico 09 in third, Larry Beiselater in second, and Supercalifragilistic, no surprise, in the top spot. Oh my god, I'm tired. That'll do it for us. Is there
Larry
anything you want to plug
Beiselater.
before we head out?
Larry Beiselater is another great name. Love it. That's all I got.
Absolutely. Please rate us 5 stars, like us wherever you are listening to us, and make sure you follow, subscribe, whatever. Follow us on all social media platforms. We really appreciate your support, cannot be stating it enough, and we have so much good content coming for you through the end of the season, and then after in the summer, we have even better content coming because we're going to be doing how to fix. We're going to be doing player breakdowns. We're going to be doing everything that you guys possibly ask, and if you comment it, we will probably do it within reason.
Give us some funny comments.
Joey was just teaching me about the correct qualifications I need to be doing on my statements. So that'll do it for us.
I got you.
And have a good one.
Thanks for listening.
Jadon Sancho to score. No mistakes this time.
That is a rocket.
Royce out. Another fantastic goal by Marco Royce. Haaland's volley is beautiful beyond
Jetzt
compare.
kommt das Wunder von Dortmund. Foulspiel von Inzo an Götze.
Needs to lay it off. We're going to shot away. Oh, what a goal!